Welcome back. You're watching Taking Stock, and it was a week for the bulls that we are taking stock of. Ashwini Gujral now joins us. Ashwini, we were talking through the day and through the week. The good part about this market was that a lot of people would have managed to buy the dips, and they would have been rewarded with the kind of move that we had on Tuesday and Wednesday. But going forward, what's your next advice? Do you think if this is a market which is given clear indications of seeking much higher levels and maybe sticking with long positions would work, or is there a temptation to book some profit maybe early next week?
People who book losses late lose their money before everybody else. People who book profits early are the second ones who lose their money, but they lose it over a period of time. Unless you have big profits in the market, you cannot offset your losses. And I have told you, since weekly shows are the time we talk longer term, the kind of massive bar we had in March, the idea was that if we pull back into that bar, you buy and the market will be able to reward you. And how many days did we correct? Hardly 5 days, and again the market is at fresh highs. So that just shows you what kind of momentum and buying that is visible at lower levels. So I wouldn't be surprised that we should soon cross the 7,900, 8,000 band and move on even further. Because if this market was weak, your correction wouldn't have ended in 5 days. And given that 7,500, which is way higher than 6,800, is now that base, the downside seems fairly limited.
Okay, yes, Ashwini, since it's the weekend, we can talk about the slightly longer run for the retail investor as well. You have been telling us repeatedly that one should accumulate stocks in your portfolio, and the time is now. If you had to identify 2 or 3 stocks that one can accumulate at this juncture for the longer term, 1 to 2 years, what would they be?
See, the importance of this monsoon forecast cannot be underplayed, because that really gives the positive trigger to look for beyond these results, and that really puts the market in very good shape to accept bad results, because bad results are history, and the good monsoon is still to happen. So since markets discount the future, it will be easier to absorb whatever negative surprises are there. So clearly it's a time when things like M&M Financial, which used to be a 400 rupees stock, has now begun to show momentum. It's had one good month. The second month has also started fairly well. So out here you could see targets of 350, and that is for a normal monsoon period where it recovers from bad results to average results. Mahindra & Mahindra, which is broken out today, when you see this kind of a large bar, obviously some big money has really traveled into the stock, and that is the time when retail should get in. Any sort of correction on Mahindra & Mahindra, I think in the next 6 odd months you could easily do 1,700. Similarly, Maruti seems to have bottomed out, and out there, in the weeks to come, you could easily see 4,200, which is its 200-day moving average. So really, it's a mean reversion that will happen in Maruti.
Okay, what about something like a Tata Motors, which was up 10% this week, Ashwini, or ICICI Bank, which clearly drives markets more with the kind of weight that it has, and that was up 9% this week?
See, Tata Motors has been doing well for longer than Maruti has been, but again, double bottom at about 280. I think next target here is about 430. Once that 430 zone is taken out, you basically have 150 points upside, 580 to 600. So a double bottom, all kinds of longer term accumulation patterns are happening. Similarly, ICICI Bank, I spoke about this last month also, that it's really made a bottom at lower levels, and just a mean reversion means 280 to 300 type of target, and you can just see the way these stocks are moving. 6% on ICICI Bank is not a small move. So people who are creating these moves, chances are plan to hold it for a much longer time.
Okay, one more question from my end. You did speak about the monsoon theme that one can still play at this juncture. Are there any other themes that you like? Cement did exceptionally well in the last fortnight. Sugar did well at one point in time, but there was some profit taking. So any thematic stories that you would like to play for the next couple of months?
See, basically monsoon, what does it help? not only agri and chemical stocks, things like, BASF, Bayer Crop Science, PI Industries, Escorts, these things have been totally beaten up, out of favor, nobody owns them. These are the stocks you buy, but it helps overall consumption. So, your Hindustan Unilever, Symphony, Dabur, what have you, everything tends to move up. So basically a good monsoon means that at least 50% of your market starts moving higher instead of just IT pharma trying to support it. So basically, a good monsoon will spread itself all over the consumption space, plus, things which are directly related to agri. So all of those spaces should move up from here.
Okay, for last many weeks you have been talking about correction of the under ownership in metals and names like Cairn. Do you think large part of that has played out, Ashwini, or do you see some more rally in names like Hindalco going forward?
The point is that the markets move much further than anybody expects. At 9,200, nobody expected 6,800. So, we've just seen 10% of a market move, which is really nothing. Things tend to double, triple in a market cycle. So I won't be surprised if Tata Steel can tomorrow get up to 380, 400. That would be just a doubling of a 200 rupee price. So there's much more ahead. Everybody had gotten out of metals and commodities totally over the last couple of years, and just average weighting them and things just improving a little bit will lead to those prices. So I don't think it's fair to say that the re-rating is done, or from here you should have downside. Markets are like a beast. Once you leave a beast, where it will stop, that only the beast can decide. So chances are that if you are cautious now, you will repent at 8,400. So the idea should be to get fully invested and hold for the longest period of time, so that you are able to take advantage when the good news actually comes in from the effect of monsoon.
Okay. On that very optimistic note, we'll let you go. Thanks, Ashwini, for joining us. Yes, the animal spirits seem to have gotten unleashed in the markets in the last 1 week. Let's see whether there is more steam to this rally. But from the technicals to the fundamentals, Adrian Mowat of JP Morgan sees a lot of economic momentum building in India, and he also believes that negative interest rate environment in Japan is not helping that country. Let's hear out his views.
Some of the excitement, particularly around the railroad sector, is really going to build. And the Railroad Ministry has spent the last 2 years developing projects, whether it's for faster trains or for, much more importantly, metro systems. You'll see a lot of announcements of this. Last year, the road budget was up 55% and it was spent. This year, it's up another 50%, and we think it is going to be spent. If you talk to the cement manufacturers, demand is already growing double digits. That's before you even start to see the new capital of Andhra Pradesh being built. I actually think there's a lot of economic momentum building in India. The yen weakened, it boosted corporate profits, it was good for the stock market. But beyond that, we really haven't made much progress. I think I describe an environment where we've had a degree of corrodonomics with very little Abenomics in terms of underlying reform. And there's only so much the central bank can do. And you saw the market reaction to a proposal, well, they did put a 10%, let's call it a tax on certain reserves. So that was their negative interest rates. That doesn't seem to be helping things. And I think the dollar bill market's now over, and people's desire to put on a risk position, which is short these currencies, continues to diminish. So I think you are in a strong yen and a strengthening euro environment.
Okay, well, it's curtains down on taking stock. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again with all the market action on Monday morning. Till then, you guys have a good weekend.